All right, we'll make a start. Members of the public are advised that the meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the live stream recording will be made publicly available on YouTube and Council's website. Nillumbik Shire Council respectfully acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of the country on which Nillumbik is located, and we value the significance of the Wurundjeri people's history as essential to the unique character of the Shire. We pay tribute to all First Nations people living in Nillumbik, give respect to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all First Nations people. We respect the enduring strength of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and acknowledge the ongoing impacts of past trauma and injustices from European invasion, massacres and genocide committed against First Nations people. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people hold a deep and ongoing connection to this place. We value the distinctive place of our First Nations people in both Nillumbik and Australia's identity, from their cultural heritage and care of the land and waterways, to their ongoing contributions in many fields, including academia, agriculture, art, economics, law, sport and politics. And Councillor Payne will now read the Good Governance Pledge for us.
As councillors, we're mindful of our civic responsibilities and obligations. We pledge to take them seriously and to carry them out with diligence and integrity. We know the decisions we take will affect the people and environment of Nillumbik now and in the future. We undertake, therefore, to make sound and principled decisions of lasting value in a spirit of fairness and for the good of all. We also pledge to serve the needs and well-being of the community and the environment in an open and honest manner and to the best of our abilities.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll now introduce Reverend Tim Johnson, who is a senior minister at St John's Anglican Church in Diamond Creek. St John's is an intergenerational community ranging in age from 0 to 99 who meet together at 8 a.m, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. every Sunday at Main Street in Diamond Creek. St John's runs programs for children, youth and adults, young and old. They run a food pantry in partnership with Diamond Valley Community to support, provide food chaplains to the Diamond Creek women's team and footy chaplains to the Diamond Creek women's team and host the Diamond Creek Community Carols each year on Coventry Oval. St John's has been part of the Diamond Creek community for over 155 years and always welcomes new people to join them. Thank you, Reverend Tim.
Thank you. Next month will be 0 to 100 because Dora turns 100 next month, so we'll have to up that from 0 to 99 to 0 to 100. Let's pray. Gracious God, we ask you for your guidance in all the business that lies before this council tonight. In planning for the future, give them vision. In matters of finance, give them faithfulness. In caring for the environment, give them responsible stewardship. In dealing with people, give them love. And please help all of us to commit ourselves to the common good, that this Shire would be a secure home for everyone. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Tim. We'll now move on to apologies. We've got 2 apologies tonight, so I'll just look for a mover to accept those apologies. Thank you, Councillor Eyre.
That the apologies have been received from Councillor Natalie Duffy and Councillor Richard Stockman, and the motion is that Council notes the apologies of Councillor Natalie Duffy and Councillor Richard Stockman.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is presentations, and we've got a healthy number of presentations tonight, which is good to see. So, to start off with sporting presentations. So first I'd like to invite Lana Meadows from Blue Lake Ward. Unfortunately, Lana, your ward councillor, is an apology tonight, but Lana has received $200 as contribution for being selected to represent Australia at the World Inline Speed Skating Championships in Italy. So that's very exciting, and I actually used to train with Lana speed skating, so it is wonderful to be giving you the award tonight, Lana. Congratulations. I do have a small spiel to read out for you. So Lana is 15 years old and has represented Australia 3 times in the Oceania Championships. In the latest national championships, she won 5 gold medals, and this is the first time she's been selected to represent Australia at the World Championships. Her dream is to be the first female to win a gold for Australia in nearly 50 years. Well, good luck with that. And Lana, we wish you the very best for your future sporting pursuits. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you want to make a speech?
Yeah, why not? I'd just like to say thank you for the grant that has been given to me and contributed to my travels to Italy. There has not been much support for it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lana. And we'll just... And I'll now invite Councillor Payne, Councillor Eyre, to present the award for Isla Dunnell from Swipers Gully Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. Elsa Dunnell, who's from Swipers Gully Ward, which is where I'm councillor, receives $150 as contribution for being selected to represent Victoria at the Australian Under-15 National Hockey Championships in Darwin. Am I pronouncing your name right? So it is Elsa, thank you. Has been playing club hockey for 7 years at the Greensborough Hockey Club and 5 years as goalkeeper. In 2022, she was selected as the goalkeeper for the Under-15 National Indoor Hockey Championships, representing Victoria. Ilsa is in Year 10 at Yarra Valley Grammar School, where she represents her school in volleyball and hockey. She's also played cricket with North Eltham Wanderers and has represented Eltham Wildcats in basketball for several seasons. Ilsa was selected for the Hockey Victoria 2023 Under-15 National Championships after attending the academy and selection trials. And we wish you all the very best in your sporting pursuits. Congratulations, and we wish you all the best.
Can I say a few words?
You can say a few words.
I just want to say thank you for awarding me with this Sporting Achievement Grant. Last Saturday I returned from Darwin with the Under-15 Victorian girls team after winning a silver medal at the Hockey Australia Nationals. The Nillumbik grant assisted my family in affording to send me to Darwin because hockey is an amateur sport and the full cost of uniforms, travel and accommodation is met by the player and their family. I play cricket and hockey, and we often see Councillor Natalie Duffy and other councillors in attendance at both venues supporting the clubs, and we appreciate all of the assistance provided by Nillumbik in terms of pavilions, lighting and sporting pitches. Thank you.
Congratulations to Lana and Ilsa. I'd now like to recognise our exiting Youth Council members. So at the March Council meeting, councillors unanimously endorsed a new Youth Council for 2023 to 2025, welcoming 15 young people onto the advisory committee. Some continuing members and some new members as well. So on behalf of Nillumbik Shire Council, it's my pleasure today to formally acknowledge the Youth Council members who've now concluded their terms and thank them for their service over the past years. Established in 2021 as a formal advisory committee of Council, the Youth Council has played an integral role in establishing and implementing Council's 4-year youth strategy, which outlines our strategic commitment to how we will support and respond to the needs of young people aged 12 to 25 who live, work, study, volunteer or play in Nillumbik. In the development of the strategy, our Youth Council have played a lead role in engaging and consulting with the young people in Nillumbik to gain a diverse perspective on matters impacting their lives within the community. This process has ensured young people have a stronger voice and sense of importance in the community. Over the past 2 years, our Youth Council have had some major achievements, including developing and supporting the community-wide youth consultation Young Minds, Your Voice, Our Future, where we gathered input and feedback from almost 900 local young people. Writing, designing and launching the Nillumbik Youth Strategy 2022 to 2026. Designing and hosting our first Nillumbik Youth Summit in 2022. Advising Council on over 20 projects, policies, strategies, and most recently advocating for and supporting the successful funding application to the Victorian Government to establish the first youth hub here in Nillumbik, which is something we are all incredibly excited about, and thank you all for your work making that happen. So I'd now like to invite our exiting Youth Council members in attendance today to come up to the front to collect a certificate of appreciation. So I invite you all to come up now. We've got a nice number of them. So congratulations to Ava Greznik. Back. Maybe we should have gone in order, but that's all right. Thank you, Ava. Oh, there are two stuck together. We'll do a photo at the end. Brianne Keogh. Thank you, Brianne. Marley Curta-Rice. Jack Lynan. Indiana Sandwell. Lachlan Wadsworth. The problem with paper clips. And Reese Warrilow. Thank you, Reese. So if you'd like to hang there, we'll get a photo. I'd also like to recognise the members who've who also finished up in 2021. So that's Taj and Rita, Joseph Bowman, Caven Cartwright, Imogen Jacks, Maverick Knight, and Katie O'Brien. Thank you again to all the young people, both those who are finishing up and those who are continuing on with the Youth Council. It's a huge amount of time, commitment, and you've brought incredible passion to the role to help better the lives of young people in our Shire. So it is really appreciated. Thank you to all of you. Moving on. Yesterday, like so many others around the country, I and a number of my fellow councillors had the honour of laying wreaths at various Anzac Day memorial services throughout the Shire. Wreaths were laid at the Eltham Cenotaph, Diamond Creek War Memorial, Hurstbridge War Memorial Park, and Kangaroo Ground War Memorial Park. Council also attended a service at Diamond Creek Community Care, and it was great to see so many people of all ages in our community turn out to honour, commemorate and reflect on the deeds of those people who, with immense bravery and a strong sense of duty, made great sacrifices, often giving their lives to protect our freedom and the freedom of others. Anzac Day is also about recognising the sacrifices made by so many parents, children, siblings, spouses and partners whose loved ones either didn't return from war and conflict or who returned so deeply affected that their lives were never the same. It was heartening, therefore, after all that we've experienced these past 2 years, to see our community again come together in such numbers to solemnly commemorate and reflect on these enormous sacrifices, lest we forget. We also have a condolence. We were saddened to hear of the recent passing of Martin Wright, OAM. Martin was a councillor for the former Shire of Diamond Valley between 1979 and 1992 and was Shire President in 1985 to 1986. Martin actively contributed to the local community in Diamond Creek and Doreen. He was strongly involved in scouting, firstly as group leader and then as rover advisor. He was a committed member of the Diamond Creek Progress Association and led the Progress Association in taking on responsibility for the running of the Diamond Creek Town Fair. Martin was also instrumental in the development of the Diamond Creek News. Martin was awarded an Order of Australia Medal in 1993 for his service to local government and the community. He was also station manager at Plenty Valley Community Radio from 1998 to 2004. On behalf of Nillumbik Shire Council, we pass on our condolences to Martin's family and friends. That concludes the presentations for tonight. The next item is confirmation of minutes. So I'll look for a motion to confirm the minutes from the last meeting.
Yes,
Councillor Payne?
Mayor Avtran, I am happy to move the recommendation that Council confirms the minutes of the Council meeting held on Tuesday, 28th of March, as per Attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Are there any conflicts of interest, councillors? No conflicts of interest. There are no petitions. We do have a few questions from the gallery, which I will open up now. The first question is from Eunice Kazor. We have been asking the council to help clear... yes, just confirm that Eunice is here. I don't believe Eunice is here. All right, in that case, we will provide that answer in writing. In the minutes. And the second question is from Mark MacDonald. Is Mark here? Mark, welcome, Mark. Question 1. Can council please explain why do the honest residents who want to cut or remove trees have their addresses advertised in the planning application list when on the other hand the dishonest residents who clear their land of vegetation without seeking a permit get no mention at all, and residents are unable to have any knowledge of what sanctions have been applied and what they've done wrong? And the response is, in accordance with the Planning and Environment Act 1987, Council is required to maintain and make publicly available a register of all planning permit applications. The register must contain information prescribed by the Act and regulations including the address on which the planning permission is sought. The Act does not require a register to be maintained and made publicly available for matters Council is investigating where possible non-compliance with the planning scheme may exist. When possible, non-compliance is investigated. Council works with the owners to bring a site into compliance through a range of mechanisms afforded by the Act. The second question from Mark is, what measures is Council taking regarding advocating and lobbying for changes to the inadequate laws in the Victorian Government's Planning and Environmental Act pertinent to illegal private tree removal and vegetation loss occurring throughout the Shire? Council advocates on a regular basis to the Victorian Government with respect to planning scheme provisions in the Nillumbik Planning Scheme to ensure the Shire's urban tree canopy is enhanced and continues to provide aesthetic, health and well-being and habitat benefits to the community. Advocacy to date to the Premier and relevant ministers and MPs, including advocacy through the Municipal Association of Victoria, has sought a review of the legislative framework regarding the impacts of vegetation clearance among other matters as an outcome of the illegal application of bushfire protections exemptions pursuant to clause 52.12. Further advocacy has sought stronger and more suitable planning scheme provisions that limit the amount of tree loss in the Shire. Further to the above, Council's advocacy has and continues to request a review of the amendment to the Act to provide for greater powers to authorised officers to cause cessation of unauthorised clearing of vegetation and for increased fines for such activities. Council continues to work with the Department of Transport and Planning to make submissions on any proposed reforms to the Victorian planning provisions to ensure no planning scheme provisions are watered down through planning reform. The bushfire protection particular provisions were added following recommendations of the 2009 Victorian Bushfire Royal Commission. They provide additional exemptions to the need to obtain a native vegetation clearing permit, and they also apply to non-native vegetation. They allow for the clearance of some vegetation around existing buildings used for accommodation and adjacent to fences on property boundaries to reduce fuel load. These exemptions override any other requirements to obtain a permit in the planning scheme, including if an overlay requires a permit. A review of the mapping that designates areas in Victoria as bushfire prone is undertaken annually, and Council participates in this review to ensure only those areas prone to bushfire are subject to the bushfire protection provisions. So that's a response to you, Mark. And I see Eunice is in the room, so Eunice, I'll move to your questions. We have been asking the Council to help clear the signs for parking and no park at Koornung Crescent multiple times in the presence of Council and Parks/CFA officers, but have yet to be acted on. Our area is dead-end and populated along the river, with park and river access to the public. The issue we face is similar to the issue at Pound Bend and Boucher's Lane. As well as helping residents seal the dead-end dirt road, as we are experiencing higher volumes of cars and visitors due to an Airbnb being very active. When will Council act on residents' repeated requests for parking signs to be placed correctly to ensure clear access to fire tracks and residential properties and ensure parking restrictions can be enforced by Council officers? And the response is, Koornung Crescent, North Warrandyte is categorised as a rural access road under Nillumbik Shire Council's Road Management Plan 2021, with the primary road purpose of providing direct access for abutting landowners or occupiers. Koornung Crescent has a local speed limit of 50 kilometres an hour and has no stopping area parking restrictions. Whilst there are signed parking areas, the extent of Koornung Crescent is considered unavailable for parking and is enforced by Council's community safety team. Furthermore, Council's traffic and transport team often work with the local CFA to determine adequacy of the water refuel points and to assist in determining their priority during busy bushfire seasons. There are a number of ways roads can be funded for sealing within Nillumbik Shire Council. One is through Council's road sealing program. Council considers its entire unsealed road network and its funding allocation for this program annually due to limited capital allocation available. Council currently has an excess of 330 kilometres of unsealed roads, and prioritisation of works is essential to ensure that limited funds are responsibly spent. Roads considered for funding require Council to be satisfied that the road provides a direct link between townships and other prioritisation criteria. When compared against other unsealed roads, Koornung Crescent is unlikely to receive funding in the coming few years. Alternatively, Council suggests residents consider a special charge scheme where benefiting residents fully fund the cost of works, or through a private scheme where specific residents agree to fund a section of the road or the entire length. Additionally, the signs in Koornung Crescent will be assessed and any remediation works will be conducted. The second question from Eunice is, my second question relates to a neighbour running a commercial Airbnb on a very quiet and preserved area in Koornung Crescent in North Warrandyte. From high visitors to rubbish management not being taken care of, our peaceful and quiet environment is diminishing, as well as the quality of life, road conditions deteriorating, and inappropriate use of a residential property. I am interested in Council's view on a residential property being used 100% as a commercial use. How are Council rates and waste costs applied to a residential property in this instance? We would love to see this house restored to a residential house so that the integrity of the neighbourhood is retained. We feel our Council should act upon this matter rapidly to help building stronger communities. And the response is, the rate and service charge applied is consistent with the underlying type of the property being leased. This applies regardless of the leasing mechanism. A residential property being leased via a holiday rental agreement would be rated as residential and incur the waste management charge. Short-term rentals are considered a dwelling in the same context as a long-term rental, and Council does not have jurisdiction over residential leasing arrangements. So that's the response to Eunice. That's all the questions we have tonight. So I'll move us on to reports from advisory committees, and I will look for a motion. Just looking for a motion to Councillor Egan. As per the papers, I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Egan, would you like to speak to that? Councillor Eyre? Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. The next item is the membership endorsement for the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee, and I'll look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. That Council 1 endorses the 14 recommended applicants listed for appointment to the 2023 to 25 Positive Ageing Advisory Committee in Attachment 1 as the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee member. And we've got applicants all the way through to 14. At 2, acknowledges and thanks all community members and local agencies who submitted expressions of interest to the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee. 3, resolves that the panel recommendations and scoring in Attachment 1 to remain confidential on the grounds specified in the definition of confidential information in Section 3(1)(f) of the Local Government Act 2020. 4, resolves that the successful applicants be named.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. Firstly, a big thank you to our outgoing members and the committee that has just completed their term, I suppose you could say, for their passion, dedication and for their knowledge base in progressing positive ageing in Nillumbik. So tonight we're looking to endorse a new committee, 10 community members, and made up of also 4 representatives of local aged care service providers or community organisations, and that's new for this committee. But I think it'll be a great a way of adding depth to the committee, having service providers on there. They'll be elected for a 2-year term, and they'll meet bi-monthly, and it will be from 10:30 to a.m. to 1:30 p.m. So it's a good time for the meeting to meet, for the group to meet at the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. The next item is the March... Oh, and we will name the successful applicants. Councillor Eyre.
I'll be very honoured to name them. Richard Kotek, Janice Crosswhite, Anne Hutchinson, Deanna Flynn, Joy Ferguson, Sandra Verdum, Sheila Cheery, Kate Poles, Tom Fisher, Yuki Yan, Opal Diamond Creek, Banksia Palliative Care, YPRL, which is the Yarra Plenty Regional Library, and Healthy Ageing Service St Vincent's Hospital. Congratulations to all our new members, and I'm looking forward to chairing the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. We'll move on to the March 2023 quarterly financial report, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Mayor Ramcharan. Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation that Council receives and notes the financial report for the period ended 31st of March 2023 as per Attachment 1.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Payne.
All I would like to say is that the Council's overall financial position at the end of this quarter is sound.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan. Thanks, Councillor Egan. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the draft on-site wastewater management plan 2024 to 2029, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move the recommendation as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Councillor Perkins.
Thank you. So, this is a statutory document, the draft on-site wastewater management plan. It's been brought to Council. It's been developed in association with Water Corporations, community and other stakeholders. So we've got a very successful current domestic wastewater management plan, and this new one, the most significant objective is to develop a risk management assessment for managing the ongoing wastewater requirements throughout Nillumbik. So, yeah, happy to move the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Payne?
Just wanted to say that this is an ongoing and important project for the Shire, and as a resident of Eltham South, I've seen the transformation that has happened when people have been able to manage their wastewater on site. So it's great.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is January 26th citizenship ceremonies moving forwards. So I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. The recommendation is that Council 1 endorses the change of date for citizenship ceremony currently held on January 26 to post-January 26 moving forward. 2 endorses that the 2024 citizenship ceremony is held on Monday, the 29th of January 2024. And 3 endorses the date for future January citizenship ceremonies be determined annually at a council meeting in November, which coincides with the election of the mayor 14 months prior to the ceremony.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Perkins. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. So the state government announced in December 22 greater flexibility for local councils to be able to hold citizenship ceremonies on the date of January 26, meaning that they can be held between the 23rd and the 29th of January. So this is purely a procedural motion seeking endorsement to change the date of our citizenship ceremony going forward and setting a date for the 2024 year. So as per the motion, we will be holding our next citizenship ceremony on Monday the 29th. This helps council in many ways, but in particular it's significant for our First Nations people, having that day separate from the citizenship ceremony, and also for council holding events on a public holiday. It certainly reduces the costs as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, for a long time, as long as I've been on council anyway, the having a citizenship ceremony on Australia Day has always been a bit awkward in a lot of ways, because it wasn't a celebration that was widely shared by all of our community, particularly First Nations people. Council were in a position that we had no choice. We had to hold a citizenship ceremony on Australia Day. That was a federal government directive, otherwise we couldn't hold citizenship ceremonies at all. So of course we continued to have our citizenship ceremonies on Australia Day, because there's many people each year that, you know, for all the right reasons, want to become citizens. You know, many have spent most of their lifetime working up to that event. So, you know, it's a great day. It's one of 4 citizenship ceremonies that Nillumbik has, and I think this year it's going to have a 5th one, just through overwhelming numbers. But it's probably one of the best things you can do as a councillor is attend these ceremonies, especially the Australia Day one. But look, late last year, 16th of December, the federal government announced that they were changing the rules and allowed councillors to move that citizenship ceremony in January, plus or minus 3 days from Australia Day. So, you know, we've of course grabbed that opportunity, and for next year we've decided to, I think, have it on January the 29th, Monday the 29th of January for next year, and for years after that we'll decide at the election of the mayor, the statutory meeting for the election of the mayor in I think it's October or November of each year. So look, I think it's the best decision we could make. We can now move that citizenship ceremony from Australia Day, and I think that, you know, as much as possible should hopefully appease some of the concerns that we've had in the past and moving forward. So, yeah, just like to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Any other councillors? I'll speak briefly on this one. I think this is a very significant moment for Nillumbik. We are currently working on our first reconciliation action plan. It's an issue that we take incredibly seriously, moving towards reconciliation, and I think it's something that this council is completely on board with. as well as a huge proportion of our staff as well, who are all working so hard to really do some meaningful work on reconciliation. We have our first Aboriginal Partnerships Officer as an organisation, and in her role, she's doing an amazing job helping us to work out and do some soul searching ourselves as an organisation, and really try and acknowledge the hurt that's been done in the past and make amends for it now, which is a long process. It's incredibly important to listen to Aboriginal people. It's something that is not always easy, but it has to be done, and you have to listen and hear what they're saying. And so many Aboriginal people, including Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, the traditional owners of this land where Nillumbik is, they have said to us that they do support the date being changed. Now, we don't have that power. We're not the federal government. It's up to the federal government if they want to change the date of Australia Day. That's up to them. But for us as a council, what we can do is we can acknowledge that holding a citizenship ceremony on a date that for so many people is a day of mourning is insensitive. And I think it's incredibly significant for us to be today changing the date of that citizenship ceremony to a date when we can all celebrate and we can all really enjoy accepting new citizens into our country. So I think that's incredibly significant. As Councillor Eyre mentioned, it also helps to save some money by not paying staff on a public holiday. So you do see benefits to these things as well. But I just wanted to acknowledge the significance of this motion, and thank you to everybody who's put the work in and the thought in to bring us to this point. So I'll now put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the Jalna Court Eltham proposed special charge scheme, and I will look for a motion.
Thank
Councillor
you,
Payne.
Mayor Ramcharan. I am happy to move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Payne.
I just wanted to confirm that 2 households in Jalna Court in Eltham have got together to approve the sealing of the road. We'll split the cost between them, and council officers have investigated this and will proceed with the special charge scheme.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan? Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the risk review for the Land Management Incentive Program, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Egan.
Thank you, Mayor Antrim. I'd like to move a recommendation that Council removes shooting-based activities as part of the LMIP. 2, continues to explore alternative programs to manage deer control across the Shire. And 3, requests the Director of Planning, Environment and Strategy to implement this decision.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Council's Land Management Incentive Program, which is the LMIP, offers residents and community groups with financial support and advice for sustainable land management activities that have positive environmental and or sustainable land management outcomes. This is mainly in the rural area, of which Councillor Amtran and myself are the ward councillors. A lot of people and residents might not be aware that our biggest threat to the bush at the moment is actually the invasion of the deer population and how out of control it is. It's now causing car accidents, and they're starting to rival those of kangaroos, but they do far more damage than any other group in the bush. The males ringbark the trees, so our big older long-standing trees which support the environmental for all the understory stuff, they get ringbarked when it's time for them to use their antlers on the trees, and that causes dieback on the trees. So we have massive, really old, ancient gums dying because of the deer. They also destroy all the undergrowth. So it's a massive, massive problem. We have, conservatively, the estimate is 10 million deer in Victoria, way out of control. And of course, they're growing exponentially every year. So this program was set up to try and help landowners get together sort of with adjoining properties to try and address this on top of the council's deer control program, and it was done with the best of intentions and on the back of the successfully funded Sugarloaf Link project. And that was undertaken by council-approved firearms contractors. But despite the best of intentions, the decision to include deer control and by extension the use of high-powered firearms as part of the LMIP did not include a thorough risk assessment at the time. This means that persons other than council-approved contractors would receive council funding to use firearms for the purposes of deer control, even though we desperately need it. Recently, this oversight was identified by staff, and to remedy this, a detailed risk review was undertaken. And this activity requires a very strong and robust controlled environment to manage the level of risk associated with this activity. So hence the recommendation that is before us tonight. So I hope that puts that in context, but please don't be fooled by the extent of the problem. It is absolutely massive and most people aren't aware of it, and we really need to get everybody on board to try and do something about this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Governance have asked me just to check with the mover and seconder if you're happy for land management incentive program to be spelt out explicitly in the motion.
Good idea, thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Councillor Payne.
Just to reiterate Councillor Egan's statements that this is the result of two actions by council to take responsibility, one for a growing deer problem, and two for the risks involved in deer control. So we are going back to make sure that we're complying as we should.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Any other councillors? I think the land management incentive program it's a fantastic program. We provide incentives for people to do planting, weeding, and a whole range of other activities on their land. So I'd strongly encourage anybody to have a look into applying for that if you'd like to do some good environmental works on your land. Council is financially supporting people to do that through the land management incentive program. Shooting was part of that program. And what this motion does is it removes it. We're not saying that deer aren't a problem. They are. They're causing a huge problem here in Nillumbik, as well as across the whole country, really. And the population does need to be managed. The problem we have doing a risk assessment, it's sort of showed us that, well, if we're giving people money to shoot on their land, then council could become complicit in any tragedies or accidents that might end up happening as a result. So based on that risk assessment, this is the right thing to do. The other risk really that's involved here is when you give money to a private landowner to do shooting, there are no checks and balances on who's paid to do that and how it's done. And as much as we do need to manage that population, it has to be done humanely, and qualified professional shooters know how to make sure a deer doesn't suffer, but you can't confirm that that's happening when council doesn't have full oversight of that. So that's the other risk that really presents itself when giving money to private landowners to manage deer. We have to make sure that if people are undertaking those works, that they do it as humanely as possible to avoid any potential suffering. So I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is the Ageing Well in Nillumbik Action Plan 2019 to 2022 final report, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you, Mayor. That Council 1 accepts the final report of the Ageing Well in Nillumbik Action Plan for 2019 to 2022 in Attachment 1. 2, agrees that any action from the Ageing Well in Nillumbik Plan from 2019 to 22 in Attachment 2 that require ongoing work will be embedded in the Year 3 and 4 action plans of the Nillumbik Health and Wellbeing Plan. Agrees that new actions that support positive ageing and wellbeing will be identified and prioritised in consultation with the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee, also known as PAC. And 4, acknowledges the positive outcomes that have been achieved through the Ageing Well in Nillumbik Action Plan 2019 to 2022.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Egan. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. So, just quickly, it's quite clear from the recommendation, but also that this was developed in consultation with the Positive Ageing Advisory Committee. The report or the action plan's term has now concluded, and so it will be embedded into the health and wellbeing plan, which makes sense. It brings it all together in one place. It means that things don't get dropped off, and it's clearer and easier to follow. So it will be embedded now, should this pass, in the year 3 and 4 action plans of the Nillumbik Health and Wellbeing Plan. And I thank all officers and community that were part of actioning this, but also to pulling the plan together in the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Councillor Egan? Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item is tender report, contract 223-035, design and construction of a modular changing places and toilet facility at Alistair Knox Park. And I will look for a motion.
Happy
Councillor
to move the motion, Mayor Ramtran, as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Eyre. Councillor Payne.
Just to bring everyone up to speed, we have an existing public toilet facility in Alistair Knox Park. The existing facility is not up to standard, doesn't meet compliance standards or community expectations. Council is looking to replace the existing facility with a more modern, appropriate and fully accessible facility. It will do so. The existing facility will be demolished, and this will be done by others and not part of this contract. It's part of a larger contract jointly funded by the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing and Council, and includes a fully compliant and certified changing places facility. That's the reason for this to happen, and I look forward shortly to announce the successful tender.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to the toilet facility being upgraded. I've had many community come to me to say, it's flooding or it's just not up to scratch and they don't like using it. So I think this is a great outcome for the community and for people who just want to go and have a picnic to some of our events, such as the Rotary Eltham Festival. So thanks, and I'm looking forward to seeing this passed.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. The next item...
I just got to announce...
and we just need to name the successful
And
tender.
I would like to congratulate that the tender is submitted by GR Design and Construction Proprietary Limited for the sum of $374,597.07 plus $74,919.41 for contingency inclusive of GST. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. The next item is the tender report for contract 2223029, design and construction for Diamond Creek Netball Court cover project. And I will look for a motion. Councillor Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move the recommendation as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. And Councillor Egan is seconding that. Councillor Perkins.
Yeah, this has been a project that has had a fairly quick turnaround. We were surprised and delighted by a fairly recent announcement late last year, I believe it was, from the Premier, Dan Andrews, about $1 million he was committing to putting a roof on 2 of the netball courts at Diamond Creek. So here we are. We've got a lot of the money from the state government. Council's had to chip in. Can't say the amount yet, but we'll see that number very shortly if this motion gets up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan? Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously, and Councillor Perkins will name the preferred tenderer.
Okay, so the preferred tenderer is Greenline Group Proprietary Limited, and the sum is $1,514,700 plus a $302,000 $940 contingency, which is inclusive of GST.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. The next item is tender report for contract 2223-039, Managed Print Services, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Egan,
Papers, Mayor.
could you say that again with the mic on?
Happy to move the recommendation as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. I'll look for a seconder. Oh, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan.
We're a dynamic duo tonight. Hasn't happened often.
Or
Make
my
the
red
most
shirt
of
to
it.
match your hair.
Make the most of it, Councillor Perkins. This is pretty self-explanatory, as per the previous two tenders. Who's laughing in the background? I've lost my train of thought now. As per the papers, I won't say much more.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. Councillor Perkins.
He's made me lose it.
Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. And Councillor
will
Egan will now
announce
name the preferred tenderer.
Yes, Konica Minolta Business Solutions Australia Proprietary Limited.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. The next item is informal meetings of councillors' records, and I will look for a motion. Councillor Eyre.
I'm sorry. That council, in accordance with item 19 of council's governance rule meeting procedure, receives the informal meetings of councillor records attachment 1 for the meetings held.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Payne. Councillor Eyre.
No, thank you.
Councillor Payne.
I second the no thank you, but I second the motion completely.
Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. I do have to go with whichever hand goes up first. So just try and have a nice strong shoulder and raise them as fast as you can. We have no notices of motion and no delegates' reports, but we do have some urgent business. Now we need a motion to accept the urgent business, so I'll
Yes,
just look
Mayor,
for a motion.
I'd like to move
Councillor
a motion
Egan.
that Council, in accordance with Clause 57 of the Governance Rule meeting procedure, admit the item of urgent business relating to the appointment of a councillor representative to the Banyule Nillumbik Local Learning Employment Network Incorporation Board, May 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Egan. And Councillor Perkins, you're seconding that? Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Egan?
No, nothing to say.
Councillor
This
Perkins?
is procedural.
Nothing more than Councillor Egan.
Any other councillors? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. So we have accepted the urgent business. We'll see the recommendation on the screen. And I'll look for a someone to move that.
Happy to move the
Councillor
motion.
Payne?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ramtran. Thank you. And the motion is as follows, that Council 1 nominates Councillor Francis Eyre as Councillor Representative, Category 7, Local Government, to the Banyule Nillumbik Local Learning and Employment Network Incorporated Board until the commencement of the election period. 2, requests officers to advise Banyule Nillumbik Local Learning and Employment Network Inc. of Council's decision. 3, requests officers to complete and submit the board election notice as per attachment 2 for action and resolution at the BNLEN annual general meeting to be held 24th of May 2023. 4, requests officers bring the matter to council at the 2024 extraordinary meeting following the election of a new council to nominate and seek endorsement of a councillor representative to the Banyule Nillumbik Local Learning and Employment Network Board to May 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan. Councillor Payne?
Having read it out, I can't think of any other way of saying this, but I think Fran's doing a great job and should continue to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Councillor Egan?
Ditto.
Ditto. Any other councillors? Councillor Eyre? Of course you can.
Great, thank you. Should this get endorsed, I guess, I'll continue to be very proud of my appointment to this non-profit. They're amazing. They do fantastic work including the School to Work program. They do Reggie interviews with Years 10 and 11 students, preparing them to get work. They've got the L to P program and many other things that they do to help our young people, supported through learning and also to employment. And I'm hoping that everyone puts their hand up to have me re-elected to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eyre. And Councillor Perkins?
Yeah, I likewise get a lot of questions around the election of a new council, and given it's part of the motion, late next year will be the next council elections, and I confirm that I will be standing. But certainly support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins, for that gem. I think we're approaching that time in the cycle now where we'll start hearing who's running again and who's not. I'm glad to hear that you'll be trying out for the next council. All right, I'll put that one to the vote. Those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. We have no confidential reports, and so I will close the meeting at 7:57 p.m. Thank you, everybody.